The cargo bay of the Horizon's Edge smelled like metal and old coffee. Sat on a crate, eating noodles from a plastic container, while his friend Lee worked on a broken loading arm nearby. The ship hummed around them, traveling through the empty space of the outer fringe. "You eat too much," said without looking up. She held a wrench in one hand and wiped sweat from her forehead with the other. "I work hard," replied with his mouth full. "Hard work needs food." "You carried 3 boxes today." "Heavy boxes." Laughed and shook her head. She was older than him by 3 years and had been his friend since they both joined the Galactic Coalition workforce. Humans were still new to space travel. Most aliens saw them as strange, soft creatures who somehow kept surviving things they should not survive, and were 2 of only 8 humans on the Horizon's Edge. The ship carried diplomats, scientists, and traders from many different species. Captain was a tall reptilian creature with green scales and yellow eyes. He did not understand humans, but he liked that they worked without complaining. Ambassador was an insect-like being with 4 arms and a thin body. He found humans disturbing. He once told that watching humans eat meat made him feel sick. Did not mind. He liked space. He liked the ship. He liked floating between stars and seeing new worlds through the observation windows. He finished his noodles and was about to ask if she wanted to watch a movie later when the lights turned red. An alarm screamed through the ship. The floor shook hard and fell off his crate. His noodle container flew across the room and hit the wall. "What is happening?" he shouted. Grabbed a support beam as the ship shook again. "I do not know. Hold on to something." The captain's voice came through the speakers, calm but tense. "All crew, this is Captain. We have hit a spatial anomaly. The ship is damaged. Move to emergency stations. This is not a drill." Tried to stand, but the floor tilted sharply. He slid toward the far wall. Emergency lights flashed everywhere. He could hear screaming from somewhere else in the ship. He called out. "I am here," she shouted back. "Get to the escape pods now." Pushed himself up and ran toward the emergency corridor. The ship shook again, and a piece of the ceiling fell down in front of him. He jumped over it and kept running. The escape pod bay was chaos. Crew members from different species pushed and shoved to get inside the small round pods. Saw a security officer trying to keep order, but nobody was listening. He spotted an empty pod near the back and ran toward it. Just as he reached the door, another explosion rocked the ship. He fell forward into the pod, hitting his head on the metal floor. For a moment, everything was blurry. He heard his voice shouting his name from somewhere far away. He tried to call back to her, but his mouth would not work properly. Then the pod door closed automatically. "No," whispered. "No, wait." The pod's computer spoke in a flat voice. "Emergency launch in 5 seconds. Nearest habitable planet detected. Launching." Slammed his hand against the door. "Stop, open the door." But the pod did not listen. It shot out of the ship like a bullet and was thrown against the back wall. Through the small window, he watched the Horizon's Edge get smaller and smaller until it was just a dot of light. Then even that disappeared. The pod flew through space for what felt like hours, sat on the floor, breathing hard, trying not to panic. His head hurt where he had hit it. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might break. The computer spoke again. "Approaching destination. Planet designation KX9 Terminus. Classification Class-9, landing in 10 minutes. Blinked. "Wait, what did you say?" "Planet designation KX9 Terminus. Classification Class-9. He felt his stomach drop. He knew about the galactic classification system. Every spacer learned it during training. Class 1 was paradise. Beautiful weather, no predators, perfect for life. Class 10 was instant death. No species could survive there for even a second. Class 9 was almost as bad. "Can you change course?" asked the computer. "Find another planet." "Negative. Fuel levels insufficient. KX9 Terminus is the only option within range. How long can most species survive on a Class 9 world? The computer paused. Average survival time for known galactic species, 6 standard hours. Closed his eyes, 6 hours. He had 6 hours to live. The pod entered the planet's atmosphere and fire filled the window. The heat inside became terrible, pressed himself against the floor and covered his head with his arms. The pod shook violently, worse than anything he had felt before. Then there was a massive crash, and everything went dark. When woke up, he was lying in mud. The pod had broken open during the landing, and he had been thrown outside. He groaned and slowly sat up. His body hurt everywhere, but nothing seemed broken. He looked around. He was in a jungle, but it was not like any jungle on Earth. The trees were too tall, their trunks twisted in strange spirals. The leaves were dark purple and red instead of green. The air was thick and hot, like breathing soup. Above him, 3 suns burned in the orange sky. The light was so bright it hurt his eyes. Strange sounds came from the trees, clicking noises, low growls, something that sounded almost like laughing but not quite. Stood up slowly. His legs felt weak. He walked to the broken pod and found the emergency kit inside: a knife, a water purifier, a fire starter, a small medical kit, 7 days of food packets. 7 days. If the computer was right, he would not need more than a few hours. He looked at the jungle again. Something moved in the shadows between the trees, something big. Took a deep breath. Fear was not useful right now. He needed to think. He needed a plan. "Okay," he said out loud. His voice sounded strange in the alien air. "Okay, this is fine. I have camped before. I have survived bad situations before. This is just a very bad camping trip." Something roared in the distance. The ground shook slightly. Picked up his knife and his supplies. He did not know which direction was safe. He did not know if any direction was safe, but standing still was not an option. He started walking. Back on the horizon's edge, the crew was counting their losses. The ship had survived the anomaly, but many were injured. Some were dead, and one escape pod had launched to the wrong planet. Captain looked at the navigation screen with cold eyes. "KX9 Terminus," he said quietly. Ambassador stood beside him, his 4 hands clasped together. "A tragedy. The human had no chance. We should mark him as lost." "No." Both aliens turned. Stood in the doorway, her face covered in dirt and dried blood from a cut on her forehead. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes were hard. "We are going back for him," she said. Captain shook his head slowly. "Engineer Lee, I understand your feelings, but it is impossible. No species survives on a Class 9 world. Your friend is already dead." "You do not know humans," replied. "You do not know he is too stupid to die." Ambassador made a sound of discomfort. "This is denial, a natural response to grief. We should—" "I am not grieving," interrupted. "I am telling you facts. We will go back. We will find him. He will be alive." Captain studied her for a long moment. He had worked with humans for 5 years. He still did not understand them, but he had learned one thing: they did not give up. 3 planetary cycles, he said finally. That is the minimum safe window for approach. We will return in 3 cycles, but I expect we will only find remains. Nodded once, then you will be surprised. She turned and walked away, already planning. On KX9 Terminus, found a cave near a stream. It was small and dark, but it would protect him from the 3 suns. He sat at the entrance, watching the alien jungle as the first sun began to set. 6 hours, the computer had said. 6 hours had already passed. Was still alive. Okay, he said to himself, watching shadows move between the twisted trees. Day 1, let us see what happens next. Something screamed in the distance. Something else answered. Gripped his knife and waited for the darkness to come. The first night was the longest of his life. He sat in his small cave, knife in hand, listening to the sounds of the alien jungle. Things moved in the darkness. Things with too many legs. Things that clicked and growled and made noises he had no words for. Sleep came in small pieces, broken by every strange sound. When the first sun rose again, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, was exhausted. But he was alive. He checked his supplies. 6 days of food left. His water purifier still worked. The medical kit had bandages, antibiotics, and pain medicine. Not much, but enough. The first thing he needed was water. He could hear the stream nearby, the same one he had found yesterday. He grabbed his empty container and walked carefully through the jungle. The trees looked different in the daylight. Their purple leaves caught the light from all 3 suns, creating patterns of shadow on the ground. Small creatures ran across the branches above him. They had too many eyes and their bodies were covered in hard shells. They watched him pass but did not attack. The stream was clear and cold, filled his container and used the purifier. The small machine hummed and glowed green, telling him the water was safe. He drank deeply, not knowing that the water still contained microbes that would have paralyzed him in seconds. His human body simply ignored them. After drinking, he looked for food. His rations would not last forever, and he needed to learn what he could eat on this world. Near the stream, he found a tree with small red fruits hanging from its branches. They smelled sweet, like berries. Picked one and looked at it. He should test it properly. He should rub a small piece on his skin and wait to see if it caused a reaction. He should be careful. But he was very hungry. He took a small bite. The fruit was sour and strange, but not bad. He waited. Nothing happened. No pain, no sickness. He ate the rest. If it had eaten the same fruit, their internal organs would have dissolved within an hour. But humans had evolved on Earth, a planet that many alien scientists now called a Class 4-5. Humans could eat things that would kill most species in the galaxy. Did not know this. He just thought the fruit tasted okay. By midday, the heat was terrible. All 3 suns hung in the sky together, and the temperature rose until could barely breathe. He retreated to his cave and waited, sweating through his clothes. His skin was already turning red. Sunburn. Bad sunburn. He had no protection from the radiation, and the 3 suns gave off more UV light than Earth's single sun. By the end of the 2nd day, his face, arms, and neck were painful to touch. He did not have sunscreen. He did not have proper shelter. He had nothing but his wits and his stubborn refusal to die. On the morning of the 3rd day, the predator found him. Was gathering more fruit near the stream when he heard movement behind him. He turned slowly, hand moving to his knife. The creature stood between 2 trees watching him. It was the size of a tiger, maybe larger, with 6 powerful legs and a body covered in dark scales. 2 blade-like arms extended from its shoulders, sharp enough to cut through metal. Its head was flat and wide, with a mouth full of teeth that curved backward. For a long moment, neither of them moved. His heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. This was death. This was how he would die, on an alien planet eaten by a monster with blade arms. The creature charged. It moved faster than anything had ever seen. 1 second it was standing between the trees, the next it was flying toward him with its blade arms raised. Did not think, he simply acted. He grabbed a rock from the ground and threw it at the creature's face. The rock hit it directly in one of its many eyes. The creature screamed and stumbled, its charge broken. Ran. But he did not run away. He ran toward the creature, knife in hand, screaming at the top of his lungs. This was not smart. This was not logical. Any survival expert would say this was the worst possible choice, but was operating on pure instinct now, and human instinct was strange. The creature had not expected this. Its prey was supposed to run away. Its prey was supposed to be afraid. Instead, this small soft thing was running toward it, making terrible sounds. Stabbed his knife into the creature's shoulder and twisted. Hot blood sprayed across his arm. The creature screamed again and swung one of its blade arms, ducked, feeling the blade pass just above his head. He grabbed another rock and threw it, and another. He kept screaming, kept fighting, kept refusing to die. Finally, the creature retreated. It backed away, confused and wounded, and disappeared into the trees. Stood alone by the stream, covered in alien blood, breathing so hard his lungs hurt. His hands were shaking. His whole body was shaking. But he was alive. That night he built a fire. He used his fire starter and some of the dry purple leaves from the jungle floor. The flames caught quickly, growing into a bright orange glow that pushed back the darkness. Did not know that fire was rare on this planet. The atmosphere contained gases that usually prevented natural fires from starting. Lightning strikes did not cause forest fires here. Volcanoes were few and far between. For millions of years, the creatures of KX9 Terminus had lived without fire. They did not understand it. They did not know what it was. The jungle went quiet around camp. Creatures that had been moving through the darkness stopped. They watched the strange orange light from a distance, afraid of something they had no memory of. Sat by his fire and ate one of his ration packets. His sunburn was worse now, the skin on his arms starting to peel. His whole body ached from the fight with the blade creature. He was tired and scared and very far from home. But he was also starting to understand something. This world was trying to kill him. Everything here wanted him dead. The suns, the water, the food, the predators. Every part of this planet was designed to destroy life. But was not most life forms, he was human. And humans, he was beginning to realize, were harder to kill than anyone expected. Over the next 2 days, he explored the area around his cave. He found more fruit trees. He found a place where small creatures gathered that he could catch and cook over his fire. He built a better shelter using fallen branches and large leaves. He also noticed something else. Something was watching him. Not the blade creature. This was something different, smaller. It stayed in the shadows, always at the edge of his vision. When he turned to look directly at it, it disappeared. At first, thought it was hunting him, waiting for the right moment to attack. He kept his knife ready and slept with one eye open. But days passed and the thing never attacked. It just watched. On the 6th day, saw it clearly for the first time. He was returning to his cave at sunset when he spotted it between 2 twisted trees. It was beautiful and terrifying. The size of a large dog, with a body like a panther made of shifting colors. Its scales changed from blue to purple to black as it moved. 6 eyes glowed softly in the fading light. 2 long fangs extended from its upper jaw, dripping with something that looked like venom. Stopped walking, the creature stopped too. They looked at each other for a long moment. Then noticed the wound. A deep cut along the creature's side, the scales torn and the flesh beneath infected. The creature was hurt, badly hurt. "You are in trouble too," said softly. The creature made a low sound in its throat, not threatening, almost questioning. Looked at the creature's wound. He looked at his medical kit on his belt. He looked back at the creature. "I am going to regret this," he muttered. He walked slowly to his cave, leaving the creature behind. But when he unpacked his dinner that night, he left a small piece of cooked meat on a rock near the edge of his camp. In the morning, the meat was gone. But the creature was still there, watching from the shadows. Smiled despite his sunburned, peeling face. "Okay," he said, "I see how this is going to go." The creature's 6 eyes blinked at him. "You can stay," told it, "but no eating me. That is the rule." The creature made that questioning sound again. Somewhere in the jungle something roared. Another predator, hunting for breakfast. The creature in the shadows turned its head toward the sound, then looked back at. It did not leave. Day 7 was beginning. The creature with 6 eyes followed everywhere now. It kept its distance, always staying in the shadows between trees, but it never left. When went to the stream for water, it was there. When he gathered fruit, it was there. When he sat by his fire at night, he could see its eyes glowing just beyond the light. He started leaving food for it every evening. Small pieces of meat from the creatures he caught, bits of fruit, whatever he could spare from his own meals. The creature always took the food, but it never came closer. Learned its patterns. It slept during the hottest part of the day when all 3 suns were high in the sky. It was most active at dawn and dusk. It made different sounds for different things. A low rumble when it was curious. A high clicking when something dangerous was near. A soft purring sound when it ate. He also learned that its wound was getting worse. By the 9th day, the creature could barely walk. Its beautiful shifting scales had become dull and gray around the infected area. When it breathed, could hear a wet, rattling sound. It was dying. Every logical part of his brain told him to let it die. This was an apex predator on a Class 9. It had 6 eyes, venomous fangs and claws that could tear through metal. If it regained its strength, it might kill him. But was not a logical person. He never had been. On the morning of the 10th day, he found the creature collapsed by the stream. It lay on its side, breathing in short, painful gasps. When it saw approaching, it tried to growl, but the sound came out weak and broken. Yeah, said softly. I am scary, I know. He knelt beside the creature, moving slowly. Its 6 eyes tracked his every movement. 2 of them were half closed, like it was having trouble staying awake. Reached out and touched the wound. The creature snarled and snapped its jaws, but it did not bite him. It was too weak. The venom in its fangs dripped onto the ground, forming small pools that smoked slightly in the morning air. This is going to hurt, told it. I am sorry. He opened his medical kit and got to work. First, he cleaned the wound with purified water. The creature screamed and thrashed, but held on. He could feel its muscles trembling beneath his hands, the raw power of a predator reduced to helpless shaking. Then he applied antibiotics. He did not know if human medicine would work on alien biology, but he had nothing else. He spread the white cream over the infected flesh and covered it with bandages. The creature watched him the entire time, all 6 eyes open now, focused on his face. Could feel its hot breath on his skin. One bite and he would die. The venom would stop his heart in seconds. But the creature did not bite. When he was finished, sat back and wiped sweat from his forehead. His sunburned skin screamed at him, the pain almost blinding, but he ignored it. There, he said, that is the best I can do. The rest is up to you. The creature made a sound, not the growl, not the clicking, something new. A soft, questioning noise that rose at the end like it was asking a question. Smiled, you are welcome. He left a large piece of meat beside the creature and walked back to his camp. That night something changed. Was sitting by his fire trying to ignore the pain of his sunburn when he heard movement nearby. He grabbed his knife and turned, expecting another predator. The 6-eyed creature stood at the edge of his camp. Its scales had regained some of their color, shifting between deep purple and blue. It looked stronger than it had that morning. Still weak, but better. It was holding something in its mouth. Watched as the creature walked slowly into the firelight and dropped the object at his feet. It was a fish, or something like a fish. It had too many fins and eyes in strange places, but it was definitely meant to be eaten. The creature looked at, then it looked at the fish, then it looked at again. Did you catch this for me? Asked. The creature made that soft purring sound. Felt something warm in his chest that had nothing to do with his fever. He picked up the fish and held it up. Thank you, this is really nice. The creature sat down at the edge of the firelight, not close to, but not far either. It curled its long tail around its body and watched him with all 6 eyes. It did not leave. cooked the fish over his fire. It tasted strange, like a mix of salmon and something bitter he could not identify. But it was the best meal he had eaten since crashing on this planet. When he finished eating, he looked at the creature. It was still watching him, its eyes reflecting the firelight like tiny stars. "I should give you a name," said. "I cannot keep calling you the creature. That is rude." The creature tilted its head. "Thought for a moment," he said finally. "My grandmother had a cat named. She was mean and bit everyone except my grandmother. She lived for 23 years because she was too angry to die." Made a sound that might have been agreement. "It is." Over the next 2 days, their bond grew stronger. His wound healed faster than expected, the alien biology responding well to the human antibiotics. She started hunting again, bringing fish and small creatures he learned to cook over his fire. In return, shared his fruit and his water. He talked to her constantly because the sound of his own voice kept him from going crazy. He told her about Earth, about Seoul, the city where he grew up, about his mother's cooking and his father's terrible jokes, about and the horizon's edge and the life he might never see again. Listened to everything. She did not understand the words, but she understood the sound, the rhythm, the comfort. On the 12th day, woke up to find sleeping beside him. She had curled up next to his body during the night, her warmth pressing against his back. When he moved, she made a sleepy chirping sound but did not wake up. Lay still, hardly breathing. An apex predator was using him as a pillow. A creature that could kill him with one bite was trusting him completely. He should have been afraid. Instead, he felt something else entirely. He felt like he had a friend. The day was hard. His sunburn had blistered badly, and every movement sent waves of pain through his body. His food rations were almost gone. His water purifier was making strange sounds that worried him. But none of that seemed as terrible as before. He had now. They walked together to the stream, his shoulder brushing against his leg. She was almost fully healed, her scales bright and shifting in the triple sunlight. Other creatures fled when they approached. The blade-armed predators, the small scuttling things, even the birds in the twisted trees. Everyone ran from. But she walked beside like he was her pack, her family, her person. At the stream, filled his water container while sat nearby, watching the trees. She made her clicking sound once, warning him of something in the distance, but the threat passed without appearing. "Good girl," said, and his tail wagged slightly. That night, as they sat together by the fire, heard something new. A sound from the sky. A deep humming that grew louder and louder until it shook the trees. He looked up. A ship was descending through the atmosphere, the horizon's edge. Its lights cut through the darkness like a second set of suns. "They came back," whispered. Pressed closer to him, growling softly at the strange lights and sounds. Put his hand on her head. "It is okay," he said. "Those are my friends. They are here to take me home." Looked at him with all 6 eyes. Looked back. "You are coming with me," he said firmly. "I am not leaving you here." His tail wagged again. Somewhere in the jungle, something roared at the descending ship. Something large and angry and confused. Smiled. "Come on, let us go say hello." The rescue shuttle landed in a small clearing about 2 kilometers from camp. Was the first one out, her boots hitting the alien soil before the landing dust had settled. She wore a full suit rated for Class 7 worlds, the best protection the ship could provide. It would not save her if something truly dangerous attacked, but it made her feel better. Behind her came a team of 5, 2 security officers with pulse rifles, a young scientist named who carried more scanners than weapons, and 2 more humans from the ship's crew, both wearing the same bulky suits. The jungle around them hummed with danger. Strange sounds came from every direction. The 3 suns beat down with merciless heat, and even through her suit could feel the radiation pressing against her skin. "We have 4 hours," said one of the officers, his yellow eyes scanning the tree line. "After that, the radiation exposure becomes lethal." "Then we move fast," replied. They had tracked escape pod signal to a location nearby. The pod itself was destroyed, broken open and half buried in mud, but there were signs of survival, footprints leading away, cut marks on trees, evidence that someone had been living here. Scanner beeped constantly. "This planet is fascinating," she said, her thin body trembling with a mix of fear and excitement. "The biodiversity is incredible. Everything here has evolved to kill everything else. It is beautiful in a terrible way." "Focus," said sharply. "We are not here to study. We are here to find my friend." They moved through the jungle in tight formation. The officers took point, their rifles raised and ready. Every shadow could hide death. Every rustle of leaves could be a predator preparing to strike. His communicator crackled. Captain's voice came through, distorted by distance and interference. "Engineer Lee, report. Any sign of the human?" "Not yet," replied. "We are following the trail from his pod." "Be advised, sensors show multiple large life forms in your area. Apex predators. Proceed with extreme caution." "Understood." They walked for almost an hour. The heat grew worse. Sweat pooled inside suit, making every step uncomfortable. But she did not stop. She would not stop until she found, alive or dead. Then her communicator crackled again. But this time, it was not Captain. "Hey, is that you guys, over here?" Stopped so suddenly that the officer behind her almost crashed into her back. That voice, she knew that voice. She said into her communicator, "Yeah, I can see your suits through the trees. You look like lost astronauts. Walk toward the stream." The team exchanged confused looks, started running. She burst through a wall of purple leaves and found herself at the edge of a small stream. The water was clear, flowing over smooth stones that glittered in the triple sunlight. And there, sitting on a large rock like he was waiting for a bus, was. His brain could not process what she was seeing. Was alive. More than alive, he looked relaxed. His shirt was gone, revealing skin that was an alarming shade of red and peeling in several places. His hair was a tangled mess. He was thinner than before, and his face was covered in dirt and scratches. But he was smiling. He said happily, "I knew you would come. Did you bring any food? I am so tired of eating purple fish." Then noticed what was sitting beside him. The creature was the size of a large tiger, with 6 glowing eyes and fangs that dripped venom. Its scales shifted colors as it moved, cycling through shades of purple and blue. 2 massive paws rested on the rock, claws extended and gleaming in the sunlight. It was looking directly at. All 6 eyes focused on her like targeting systems. Said very slowly, "There is a creature beside you." "Oh, this is," said casually. "She is my friend, say hello." Made a sound that was somewhere between a growl and a purr. The security officers raised their rifles. Their training had kicked in, and they were already calculating firing angles and retreat paths. Scales shifted to an angry red. She rose to her feet, her body tensing like a spring about to release. "Whoa, whoa," jumped off the rock and stood between and the guns. "Do not shoot her, she is friendly." "That is a," said the lead officer, his voice tight with fear. "Class-9 apex predator, most dangerous species on this planet. It has killed more survey teams than any other creature in recorded history." "She is also my friend," repeated. "She caught me a fish yesterday. Well, a fish thing. It had too many eyes, but it tasted okay." Scanner was shaking so badly she could barely read it. "This should not be possible," she whispered. "He should be dead. The radiation alone would have killed most species in hours. The microbes in the water, the toxins in the food, the predators. Everything on this planet is designed to kill." "How long has he been here?" asked one of the human crew members. 12 days, answered, her voice distant with shock. 12 days, repeated. 12 days on a Class 9, that is not possible. Scratched his sunburned arm. Is it really that impressive? I mean, it was hard, I am not going to lie. The sunburn is terrible and I really miss rice. Do you have any rice? Or aloe? My skin is killing me. Removed her helmet. The air hit her face, thick and hot and strange. She did not care about the radiation. She did not care about the danger. She walked forward and grabbed in a hug so tight he made a squeaking sound. You idiot, she said. You absolute idiot, I thought you were dead. I thought I was dead too, admitted, but then I decided not to be. Behind them made an uncertain sound. She did not understand why this strange suited creature was touching her human. Her scales flickered between colors, unsure if this was a threat. Released and looked back. For a long moment they studied each other. She really is your friend, said finally. She really is. Sighed, Captain is going to have a heart attack. Do have hearts? I do not know, we might find out. The team began the journey back to the shuttle, followed close to, her shoulder brushing against his leg with every step. The officers kept their weapons raised, but they did not fire. There was clearly protecting the human, not hunting him. Walked beside them, her scanner running constantly. I need to document everything, she kept saying. This is the most significant bonding event in galactic history. A human and it should be impossible. Why? Asked. Are solitary predators. They do not form bonds. They do not show loyalty. They have no pack instincts at all. They are perfect killing machines with no social behaviors whatsoever. She looked up at him with all 6 eyes. I think she was just lonely, he said. Scanner beeped frantically. They reached the shuttle without incident. The jungle creatures stayed away, frightened by the combination of strange technology and apex predator. When the shuttle doors opened, hesitated at the threshold. It is okay, said softly. This is safe, this is home now. Sniffed the air inside the shuttle. Her scales shifted through several colors before settling on a calm blue. She stepped inside. As the shuttle lifted off, watched KX9 Terminus shrink below them. The twisted purple jungle, the 3 burning suns, the planet that had tried so hard to kill him. Goodbye, he said quietly. Pressed her head against his shoulder. Sat across from them, her helmet off, her expression a mixture of exhaustion and disbelief. The captain is going to want a full report, she said. Okay. The Galactic Coalition is going to want to study both of you. Okay. Ambassador is probably going to try to have you arrested for bringing an apex predator onto a diplomatic vessel. Scratched behind her 6 ears, she made that soft purring sound again. Worth it, he said. Laughed. It was the first time she had laughed in 12 days. The shuttle climbed higher, breaking through the atmosphere and into the cold darkness of space. The horizon's edge waited above, its lights blinking like stars. Closed his eyes, he was going home. And he was not going alone. The horizon's edge had never been so quiet. The crew gathered in the observation deck, pressing against the windows and doorways, trying to catch a glimpse of the impossible. Word had spread through the ship like fire. The human was alive. The human had returned from a Class-9. The human had brought something back. Captain stood at the shuttle bay doors, his scales slightly paler than usual. His tail twitched nervously, a sign that any crew member would recognize as deep unease. Ambassador stood beside him, all 4 of his arms crossed, his compound eyes reflecting the lights of the landing bay. The shuttle doors opened. Walked out first. His sunburn had gotten worse during the journey, his skin now an almost glowing shade of red. He was shirtless, dirty, and smiling like he had just returned from a beach vacation. Behind him came. Stepped onto the metal floor of the horizon's edge, her claws clicking with each step. Her scales shifted through colors as she took in her new environment. The strange lights, the recycled air, the dozens of aliens staring at her with expressions of pure terror. She growled softly. Several crew members screamed. A technician fainted. 2 security officers raised their weapons on instinct. "Everyone calm down," said, raising his hands. "She is not going to hurt anyone, right?" Looked at him. Then she looked at the crowd. Then she sat down beside Sleg and yawned, revealing rows of curved teeth and the venom glands behind her fangs. More screaming. Captain stepped forward, his voice carefully controlled. "Technician, explain." Shrugged. "I crashed on a planet. I survived. I made a friend. Now I am back. That friend is one of the most dangerous creatures in the known galaxy. She is also very good at catching fish." Ambassador made a sound of deep distress. "This is unprecedented. This is dangerous. This is completely unacceptable. That creature cannot remain on this ship. It must be destroyed immediately." Scales turned dark red. She rose to her feet, her growl deepening. "If anyone tries to hurt her," said quietly, "she will defend herself, and I will help her." The ambassador's compound eyes widened. "You would side with a beast over your own crew." "She saved my life. She kept me warm at night. She brought me food when I was starving. She is not a beast. She is my friend. And where I go, she goes." Silence fell over the shuttle bay. Captain studied for a long moment. The human looked terrible. Sunburned, dehydrated, covered in scars and scratches. He should be in the medical bay. He should be resting. Instead, he was standing in front of ready to fight anyone who threatened her. This was why humans confused him. This was why humans scared him. "They will remain in the cargo bay," the captain said finally, "under constant observation. If it shows any sign of aggression toward any crew member, it will be sedated and contained. These are the conditions. Do you accept?" Looked at. "Okay," said, "but I get to stay with her, and her name is not the—" Ambassador threw his 4 arms up in frustration and walked away, muttering in his native language. Captain nodded once. "Acceptable. Now get to the medical bay before your skin falls off." The next few days were strange for everyone. Stayed in the cargo bay as agreed, but she refused to eat unless was present. She refused to sleep unless she could see him. She growled at anyone who came too close, her scales shifting to warning colors. Except for, on the second day, came to the cargo bay with a peace offering. She had researched biology and discovered they particularly enjoyed a type of nutrient paste the ship used for emergency rations. She brought a bowl and set it down a few meters from. They watched her with all 6 eyes. Sat down on a crate and waited. After almost an hour, approached the bowl. She sniffed it carefully, then began to eat. When she finished, she looked at for a long moment. Then she walked over and sat down beside her. "I think she likes you," said from his cot in the medical bay, watching through a video feed. "I think she tolerates me," replied. "There is a difference." But from that day on, allowed to approach her without growling. It was a small step, but it was something. Specialists spent every waking moment studying the situation. She followed around the ship, asking questions, taking notes, running scans. She observed from a safe distance, documenting every behavior. "This is revolutionizing our understanding of bonding," she told one day. "Have no social structures, no pack behaviors. They are completely solitary from birth. Yet this one has formed a genuine attachment to you. She sees you as part of her family, for lack of a better word." "Maybe she was just waiting for someone to be nice to her," said. Blinked. "That is scientifically impossible." And yet, had no response to that. Word of survival spread beyond the horizon's edge. Captain was required to file a detailed report with the Galactic Coalition, and once the information entered the official databases, it could not be contained. A human had survived 12 days on a Class-9, alone, with no advanced equipment. He had fought predators with rocks and a knife. He had eaten toxic food and drunk contaminated water. He had endured radiation that would kill most species in hours. And he had returned with a pet. The Coalition's Science Division requested permission to study. The military command wanted to interview him about human survival capabilities. 3 separate news organizations sent requests for exclusive interviews. Ambassador filed a formal petition to have humanity's threat classification reassessed. The current rating, minimal concern, limited spacefaring capability, no longer seemed appropriate. Ignored all of this. He spent his days in the cargo bay with, teaching her tricks like she was a very large, very dangerous dog. "Fetch," he said, throwing a ball across the room. Watched the ball bounce off the far wall, then she looked at. "Okay, you do not want to fetch, that is fine." Walked over to a storage crate, dragged it across the floor with her teeth, and dropped it in front of. Then she sat back and looked at him expectantly. You want me to throw the crate?" His tail wagged. "That crate weighs 50 kilograms. The tilted her head. Sighed, "Fine, let me get a help." In the observation deck, Captain watched the feed from the cargo bay. The human was trying to throw a heavy crate while the bounced around him like an excited puppy. It was absurd. It was impossible. It was happening. Appeared beside him, 2 cups of coffee in her hands. She offered one to the captain. "You seem troubled," she said. "I am trying to understand," he replied. "Humans are physically weak compared to most species. Your senses are limited. You cannot survive in extreme environments without extensive protection. By all logical measures, you should be one of the least dangerous species in the galaxy. But your friend survived something that should have killed him a dozen times over. He did it through sheer stubbornness. And then he bonded with a creature that exists only to kill. This makes no sense." Sipped her coffee. "Humans are not logical," she said. "We are stubborn. We are curious. We form connections with things we should fear. We survive because we refuse to accept that we cannot. That is terrifying." "I know." They stood in silence, watching finally manage to throw the crate a few meters. Pounced on it with obvious joy, her scales cycling through happy colors. "He is teaching her to play fetch," Captain said flatly. "Yes." "A Class-9 apex predator." "Yes." "And she looks happy." Smiled, "She does." The captain shook his head slowly. "Humans are going to change everything, are you not?" Thought about his sunburn and his terrible jokes and his absolute refusal to die when the universe demanded it. About who had been alone her whole life until a strange, soft creature showed her kindness. "Maybe," she said, "is that a bad thing?" Captain watched the curl up beside the human, her massive head resting on his lap. "I do not know," he admitted, "but I am beginning to think it might be interesting." Far below in the cargo bay, scratched behind her 6 ears, her venomous fangs retracted with contentment, her scales settled into a peaceful blue. "Everyone keeps looking at me weird," he told her. "You would think I did something crazy." Made a sound that was almost like laughter. Smiled, "Yeah, exactly." Outside the ship's windows, the stars stretched endlessly into the void. Somewhere out there, KX9 Terminus continued its orbit around 3 burning suns. Predators hunted in its purple jungles. Death waited around every corner. But one human had walked through that death and come out the other side, with a sunburn, with scars, with a friend who should have eaten him. The galaxy was watching now. They had seen something they did not understand. They had seen what humans could do. And they were afraid.